Before we get started, I want to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by the 80s Cruise. It is coming back. It's going to be February 27th to March 6th of 2026.
Your memories that you brought back, I had full-on FOMO, so I'm really looking forward to this one.
Well, one of the reasons I loved it was, besides seeing these great 80s bands, I got to go to different places in the world that I never would have gone to. When I stopped in the Bahamas, I saw this amphitheater. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. What a nice place for a show. Turns out the 80s Cruise people also thought that. So there's going to be a show outside of the cruise this year, and it's going to feature Nile Rodgers and Chic, Billy Ocean, and Donnie Iris and the Cruisers. And it's called Rocks the Dock, which makes sense. Everyone starts their journey to the Bahamas and gets to hear these amazing bands.
Yeah, which sounds amazing, but can we also mention some of the other bands that are going to be performing on board in what you call the small amphitheater style, which sounds so cool? Bret Michaels, the lead singer of Poison, and I haven't seen Poison since the 80s. OMD, Gary Newman, Heaven 17, Berlin, Terry Nunn Rocks. This is a fabulous lineup.
Go to the80scruise.com to get all the info, and then when you're ready to sign up, enter the promo code WDDIM, which stands for What Difference Does It Make? As you all know, you can get $250 in onboard credit if this is your first time on the cruise. So 1 credit per cabin, and the offer is only available to first-time guests for the 2026 80s Cruise. But it is going to be such a great time, great artists, and some of our favorite MTV VJs will be there. So we hope to see you there. Remember, all the information is at the80scruise.com, and WDDIM is the promo code, which stands for What Difference Does It Make?
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love, starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
I'm Spider Stacy from The Pogues, and you're listening to Holly and Dave on the What Difference Does It Make podcast.
Hello, Holly.
Hello, Dave.
What's happening today on the What Difference Does It Make podcast?
Today is like a fairy tale for me, for us, I should say.
Why is this a fairy tale for you?
We have as our guest today, Spider Stacy, founding member of the Pogues, and they're actually touring, celebrating the 40th anniversary of Rum, Sodomy, and the Lash, and they're touring on it. So you got the Pogues coming back, and Spider Stacy has given us a good hour of his time to chat about that and so much more.
Pogues were one of my favorite bands back in the 80s. I kind of discovered them thanks to Elvis Costello. I heard he produced this Irish band, and I played it, and it was one of those where like, what the hell is this? And then I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is this? It was like Irish punk, just explosion of and the beautiful lyrics from Shane McGowan. I discovered this character named Shane McGowan. Rum, Sodomy, and the Lash was just a game changer for me. It was one of those albums kind of opened my eyes to like world music in a way, but with a punk spirit. And I just gobbled it all up. And I had the cassette, and I listened to it in my car all the time. Like, I've been a fan of them for the past 40 years. And so really exciting to get the opportunity to talk to Spider Stacy. And we're going to talk about the music and all the history behind it.
Do you know what Rum, Sodomy, and the Lash means, where that was taken from?
No. Please tell me, Holly.
Supposedly, it's taken from a Winston Churchill quote. Don't talk to me about naval tradition. It's nothing but rum, sodomy, and the lash.
There you go. I still have no idea what that means, but it makes for one hell of an album. Tell you that.
Yes, it does. So now can I tell you about social media?
Please do.
You definitely want to check out our social media for clips with Spider Stacy. Such a great guy. check out WDDIM Podcast and on YouTube at What Difference Does It Make Podcast. And when I say social media, some of this is going to be on TikTok.
Let's get into it. This is our talk with Spider Stacy, he of the Pogues, on the What Difference Does It Make podcast.
Hey.
Hi.
There he is.
Where are you located right now?
Me? I'm in the Ludlow Hotel in New York.
You're living in the U.S. now, right?
Yeah.
No, my wife and I have a house in New Orleans. We were living there for about 8 years until about 2018. And then we started we were kind of like going back and forth. Then the pandemic happened. And we were actually in New Orleans when it's kind of hit. And we didn't have any health insurance. So we deemed it prudent to head back to London. Yeah. We still have the house in New Orleans.
What prompted a move there?
I've been with the band a couple of times when we played in the late 80s and always really, really loved the city. It's, if you've ever been there, I'm sure you know, it's just,
a lot of history.
Like, exactly. And just what a sort of, it was so wild when the first time we went, I think it was 88. And everyone says it because it's true. It's like nowhere else in the US at all. So we went back in 2009, we played Voodoo, and Louise, my wife, was we had been sort of like kind of fascinated by the place, and we got there and she just sort of fell in love with it. And we were in a position at that time, we were doing quite a lot of live shows with the reunion and everything, and the dollar was quite weak against the pound, so we had been banking our dollars, and we were sort of frittering them away. We were like staying on in sort of, in stupid hotels and sort of like spending loads of money. And our manager actually said, look, why don't you just, you should do something with this rather than just missing it all away. So we went to New Orleans and we actually went on a swamp tour, and she was just looking down from the I-10 at the Treme, which is where we ended up, and the 7th Ward, and just thought, oh, this just looks great. So we bought a house in actually in the bleaker part of the Treme on the other side of Claiborne.
That was actually my first trip to New Orleans, also was in 1988. And I remember thinking exactly the same thing, even from flying in, from just landing there. Yes. This place is different than anywhere I've ever been.
Honestly, it's like, there's a direct flight from London to New Orleans, which we always try and get. And it's things like immigration in the States. Like, I always found immigration officials in the States, they're very sort of businesslike, to put it.
I don't know.
To put it bluntly, they're like, there's no kind of like smile, there's no like, how's it going or anything like that. It's like, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. All right, you're in. In New Orleans, they're kind of like, you could just about catch happy hour at Commander's Palace if you hurry, half price 25-cent martinis. It's like, I don't drink it anymore, but yeah, shit. You know what I mean? And it's just this totally different vibe.
Yeah.
So wait, you said you moved to New Orleans like 2008, 2009?
Actually, 2010, we bought the house.
Okay, because that was like the bubble. There was like, the real estate crash. Like, the U.S. was going through a lot of shit back then.
This was the thing. When we bought the house, David Simon was doing Treme, which was his show about New Orleans post-Katrina. And we knew David. There'd been quite a lot of Pogue songs used in The Wire. And he'd come to see us in DC, and we'd sort of become friends and everything. Well, we good friends. And I kind of blagged a very small part in Treme. A real sort of blink and you'd miss me sort of thing. So we went back. This was actually in the second series that I got the part. But anyway, we went back to New Orleans for the premiere of the first series. We got there, and Louise had a list of about 8 or 9 different houses to look at. The 5th house we looked at was on the, if you like, what people kept saying was the wrong side of Claiborne Avenue. I think what had happened was that, obviously, after Katrina, a lot of people left the city, and particularly the sort of poorer black residents of the city. They evacuated. They went to places like Houston and Atlanta, and New Orleans was so dysfunctional in terms of sort of schools and all that kind of thing. I think what happened with us was some guy bought up a bunch of houses, and then the crash happened. So they'd been sort of repossessed by the bank, and the bank was just trying to get rid of places that it figured it was never going to sell. So we got it dirt cheap.
And I get the fascination with it.
On that kind of note, there's a lot of places you can move to. I think, for example, New York might be kind of one of them, whereas when New Yorkers won't sort of like acknowledge you as actually being a New Yorker. If you weren't born here, probably really maybe never. Maybe if you'd like live here for 60 years, possibly like, okay, I guess you get some sort of like residence permit at least, But one thing, I really found in New Orleans, we were kind of the only white people on our block. We didn't quite know where we were moving to, what our neighborhood. It is what it, I mean, New Orleans is New Orleans. This is a poor black neighborhood post Katrina with kind of stuff that all the things that sort of are attendant upon that. But it was one of the best things we ever did, because it's like, just like the welcome we got was like, hello, are you going to paint that house? I don't want to sort of belabor the point, but I kind of wonder what it would have been like if the boot had been on the other foot and we'd been the black people moving into a white neighborhood.
Different experience,
I
for
would say
sure.
so. I would say so.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we still love it there. It's changed a bit now, the block. The place has generally become gentrified-ish. But New Orleans is, for everything, I think, is very, very cheek by jowl. It's too small, really, for it to be otherwise. And also, I think the city's history, for all that it's in the South, for all that it was segregated, blah, 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 I don't think New Orleans could ever really work if that aspect had been really sort of so rigidly enforced, because it's, by its very nature, the place depends on people interacting with each other. I don't want to paint it as some kind of like fairy story. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there needs to be that sort of interaction for it to function as New Orleans. At least that's the impression I got.
You're right. And it's hard to imagine other cities like that.
It has a different history, a different DNA. So it's maybe that has enabled it to sort of, if not exactly escape, but possibly ameliorate to a certain extent some of the other stuff that you can find as you go around the South, and some of the things that you will encounter and that you will have to kind of deal with.
Yeah, I would imagine musically, there's the Cajun music, and it's folk music. There's the tradition. Was that what intrigued you as well? Like just, walking down the streets and hearing these songs, and
that's just kind of part of the fabric of the city. It wasn't that and that alone, no. But I mean, that is just such an attractive part of the city that it certainly doesn't hurt when you're considering reasons why you might want to move there.
You ever take your tin whistle out, and is it a tin whistle or penny whistle?
A tin whistle, I guess, or a penny whistle. Something like this thing, that kind of costs a bit more than a penny. Can't actually play it properly. It's a low F sharp.
So is it like a harmonica where they're all tuned to different...
They're all tuned to different keys. Yeah.
Different keys? Okay.
Yeah. Each you should be able to play in at least two different keys, but they are made in, like, this is F sharp. This here is a C whistle, which, if you notice the flattened end, it got in a fight with a Cajun triangle and lost. Have you ever seen a Cajun triangle?
No, I
know. It's the chief kind of like percussive instrument in traditional Cajun music anyway, and they make them out of the tines of a hay baling fork. So it's like a piece of serious agricultural equipment, and it's not like a little triangle that you might find in an orchestra. It's a solid chunk of iron with an iron rod that you hit it with. It's a fantastic thing, yeah.
This is the Stradivarius of tin whistles. Is that what we're looking at?
No, that's not this. But this one is actually an American. This is made by this is a Burke's whistle. Burke's are from Murfreesboro, Indiana.
And where do you go shopping for these? It's not like you're going to Guitar Center to pick up the latest, like staring at on a wall.
There are mass-produced ones that you can buy in most music shops, but some of those can actually be really good, but you have to strike lucky because they're mass-produced. Some of them are just like really, kind of not that any good at all. It's not the different makes. It's just like the actual individual whistles. It's like sort of Friday cars. Except that there are a lot of them are Friday cars. So if you like handcrafted ones, you order online and just hope that there's not too much of a waiting list. And they're made by like the people who make them are like, try asking for a discount. I'm in the Pogues, I don't know. I never heard of it.
So they know they're sending you the best.
I don't actually know if they do know who I am. I think these are just like
guitars and drums. They're like, they're thrilled to have please play our instrument. And with tin whistles, it's something.
These, like they're doing them kind of like they might have an apprentice or something. They're doing them then maybe 1, 2 at a time. It's not the kind of business where you can go, hey, give me free whistles, because it's not like some big company doing it.
Is it like the flute, or what? Is it something similar?
It's a much more straightforward instrument than a flute, in that, of course, a flute is chromatic and be played in whatever key you choose. And there's no thumb hole, as you'll notice. And it's very sort of like... Just, you blow harder to go up. And it's got like 2 octaves, 2.5 maybe.
You played an instrument, was it in the Pogues or pre-Pogues before Tin Whistle?
The original idea was that Shane and I were going to share lead. We're both going to be the singer, and I just couldn't sing in those days anyway. So he said, you should play the Tin Whistle. It's easy.
That was it. No, okay.
Well, you make it sound easy.
It's not to play it like those guys. The guys that you see playing whistle in sessions in bars and stuff like that. Some of those guys can really, really.
But I mean, you're still the elite of the elite of players.
Right, it's a funny thing, actually. This now we're getting on to the Pogues. These shows that we did, and the tour that the Red Roses show that we did in London and Dublin, and the Rum Sodomy and the Lash tour that we just did in the UK, where we're playing with all these Irish musicians, all of whom it seems can play pretty much any instrument in the canon, with pretty much equal degrees of facility. I mean, this is one of the real strengths of the whole thing, is we've got these people who are all just so good at what they do. We have a guy called Fikra Meek playing the pipes, whose grandmother actually was instrumental in bringing the Clancy brothers, kind of getting the Clancy brothers started almost, really, and sort of turning them into kind of big stars in America. And he's an astonishing musician. And, you hear him playing the whistle, and it's just steeped in the repertoire from when he was about 4 years old. It's a different thing. Some Irish trad musicians who might be people that you'll never hear of because they're not even professional musicians. They could be anything. They could be a joiner. They could be a doctor. They could be unemployed. They could be, I don't know, whatever. And they're just fantastic musicians of a degree of skill that is most people could only really dream of attaining.
You have so many artists touring with you on this tour. I mean, bringing something like that together, what does it take to get all those musicians together, to schedule them, to make this? You're the ringleader now, right?
Well, we're lucky that we are lucky definitely that we've been able to get everyone's schedules to line up, because obviously people have their own lives and are busy, but I think they all really, really get a buzz out of doing it. That everyone was really, really delighted that this US tour is happening. Everyone's kind of saying, well, what's happening next after US? What are you doing next? We want to know so we can, make sure that our diaries are clear and we want to do this. You have someone like Lisa O'Neill, who's absolutely a fantastic talent, a supernal talent, saying things like, I'd actually like to sort of prioritize this till I come to sort of make my next record. All of them really have grown up really loving the Pogues. Although the Pogues really aren't an Irish band. The Pogues are, if anything, a London band.
For sure.
Bear in mind that half the Pogues were never Irish at all, had no Irish connections other than having grown up in cities where there was an Irish population, which is true of any large city in the UK, really. There's going to be a significant number of Irish people or people of Irish extraction living there, much like the US, I mean, one of the reasons these bands like Lankum or the Mary Wallopers, the list seems to be growing daily. I think they really liked our attitude, you kind of have to talk to them, I think, really, about what it is. Lisa O'Neill said a really fantastic thing she did an Instagram post to us all. You know Lisa O'Neill, right?
Not much. We were just talking about her. I know.
So you absolutely have to check out Lisa O'Neill. She's fucking extraordinary. She's one of the best lyricists I've heard in a long, long time. She kind of writes in this kind of magical realism. An extraordinary singer. She comes from County Cavan. She has a very strong accent. Some people are a bit sort of huh? When they first hear her. She's a wonderful singer. She didn't play either of the Red Roses shows, but she was on the Rum Sodomy and the Lash tour on the whole thing. And she sang Rainy Night in Soho, Dirty Old Town, and Dark Streets of London. And I mean, Rainy Night in Soho was heartbreak. It was just really, really beautiful. The fact that we have a harp on stage didn't matter either. So we have this sort of beautiful, quiet interlude of Lisa and the harp. But you've really got to check out Lisa O'Neill. And she said, It has been true transportation to sing and travel with the Pogues and to breathe new life, rage, and love into their music. Beautiful, wild people, these extraordinary musicians, in its marriage of memory and moment, I conclude the Pogues' music is modern medicine, evident in the life that is ignited in the audience as these songs are recalled within us all. I've never been in front of an audience like a Pogues audience. They're a force of nature, pulsating as one. This dirty old dance is far from done.
We are talking with Spider Stacy of The Pogues, and the time has come where we take a break, so we will be back after these messages.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
Introducing the perfect companion to your morning listening routine. AG1's clinically backed formula is now flavor-packed with 3 new delicious flavors: tropical, berry, and citrus. Start the day on a high note with probiotics that taste like the tropics. Mix it up with micronutrients that taste like berry or citrus. And take it all the way back with the classic, AG1 Original, with notes of pineapple and vanilla. Do your health a flavor, or 4, with AG1 Next Gen, the daily health drink. Learn more at drinkag1.com.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
We're back on the What Difference Does It Make podcast with our guest, Spider Stacy of The Pogues.
Pogues music is going to go on and on. You grew up in London. You guys were in London, and you heard this music in the pubs, like in North London.
For myself, yeah, that was my introduction to it. I mean, obviously Shane was Irish, was born in England, but kind of by accident. But then his dad was working for a department store actually in London, so they moved back to London when Shane was very little, and so he grew up in London, but they would always go back to Ireland for the summer holidays. His dad was from Dublin, but his mum was from Tipperary, which is in the sort of southwest of Ireland, and that's where they always went. So you got songs like The Broad Majestic Shannon, which is kind of a love song to his sister, really, almost. It's a sort of memory of them sort of like as kids. It stems from his memory of them as kids in County Tipperary, which the River Shannon runs along the border of Tipperary and Clare.
Come on.
And, it's
gorgeous. I know how you can get this team to continue working. You could bring it to the West Coast because you guys don't have any West Coast dates.
I mean, I honestly think that's the next step. That's the plan, I hope. Because, I agree with Lisa. People need to hear this, It is a kind of medicine. The vibe at the shows, the Red Roses shows, the tour. I mean, I'm used to sort of like, real explosions of emotion and passion from Pogues audiences. What she says about Pogues audiences, what Lisa says about Pogues audiences is absolutely spot on. Obviously, I remember them as they were back in the day. So the way to see it kind of like coming back the same now, for the music to have that same effect. And there's a good proportion of the audience are kind of like people who might well have been around in the old days, but there's a hell of a lot of them who are much, much younger. It's a generational thing in part, I know. I know that people come with their kids, with their grandkids now, people who are like fans of ours back in the old days. Holly Molyneux, who's playing bass for us, she plays bass in a band called Goat Girl, who are part of this really kind of like achingly hip South London scene. She is absolutely not a traditional Irish musician. She's from Portsmouth on the south coast of England. She plays in this like really kind of like, as I say, ultra cool band. We're drawing in people like this as well. It's nice to be validated.
it's easier to understand, I think, because your music isn't dated. It stands to reason you would be bringing in new fans.
Yeah. I think that's it. The appeal is timeless.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, all that is pretty much irrelevant, really. When we started, we were doing like 200-year-old wailing songs at 900 miles an hour. I mean, like, so who gives us toss whether something's what does dated even mean, really, in that context,
Well, yeah, but that was the attitude. I mean, I would imagine that people are so thrilled. I mean, it's kind of like a catharsis in a way. Like maybe we weren't sure we were going to hear Pogues music again, and Shane's not around to do this, and now we're coming back, and we've got these great musicians, and the music is going to live on. And it's like such a release when you hear these songs again. Like I can imagine just hearing, once you kick off with the opening cut on Run Sodomy and Lash, and just like, it must be like an explosion of just like joy, like so much joy.
It was absolutely like that. I mean, the one that really sticks, because it was the first one, when we did Red Roses for me, Hackney Empire in London. And Hackney Empire is what you guys would call it's an old vaudeville theatre. We call them musical. Yeah. And it's been really beautifully restored. It was built, I think, originally in, I don't know, the 1880s, guessing here. And it's only like 1,600 capacity. So it's not big, but it goes up like this. The way that it's kind of shaped, if you're on the stage, it's got a really nice big stage as well. And it's like the audience are kind of funneled towards you. And because this was the first one, because also it was the May after Shane had died, that, he had died the previous November. So that was still very fresh, very raw for a lot of people. The Pogues and Shane, we inspired a real sort of I think a lot of love. And Shane particularly as well, I mean, like, people were genuinely sad when he died. I was actually really surprised by the reaction that I knew what it was going to be like in Ireland, that kind of reason. So even Ireland, I didn't quite expect him to be. I didn't realize he was actually getting a state funeral, which effectively it was. Mm-hmm. But the BBC in Britain, I mean, I think the whole funeral was shown. People were really, really affected by it. And people loved the band. And when we came on stage at Hackney Empire, and with the first cut on Red Roses is Transmetropolitan, we have our brass section with us, who will be coming to the States. And you could just hear this, they played the opening kind of melody of that. And I don't know, it was just this extraordinary rush. And then that continued in Dublin, and then it continued with the Run Sodomy and the Lash tour in the UK with Sickbed of Culcullen. It was just the same thing. It was just like happening night after night.
Yeah.
Just people were like, yeah. I have to say, this kind of thing cannot work. It can kind of like really fall flat on its face. It was never intended to be a tribute to Shane as such. It's more a sort of like, okay, it's the 40th anniversary of the album. It's a celebration of the album. It's a celebration of the songs. So obviously it's implicitly a tribute to Shane, but it's not like, oh no, Shane's dead. He would have fucking hated that as well. I mean, he really, really would have. It was much better to do it like this, to have these brilliant people on stage doing these brilliant interpretations of his songs, of our songs as well. Not taking anything away from Shane, but, the Pogues were a band. We all were involved in putting stuff together. And it's not about trying to sort of assert that either. I don't get me wrong for a moment, but it was just like, we're going to bring this to you, and here it is. And really, I think the overwhelming sort of reaction was like, thank you so much. Mm-hmm. But, when you get sort of like grown men sort of like sobbing the aisles, I mean, actually, let me rephrase that. Grown-ass adults. Another thing also I wanted to sort of like add, that I felt when I was putting the whole thing together, that it was really important that we had a strong female presence. I thought that a lot of the songs actually really benefit from being sung by women. I think women bring this whole energy, and it just works so much better for doing it like that.
It's great to have that female presence. That's really nice.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Holly, who's the bass player, is now the bass player in the Pogues as well as Goat Girl. Holly is fantastic. She's like one of the band leaders, really. She's like 32. She just like really takes charge, because we all sort of like stand around sort of like discuss stuff, and she'll be like, no, we've got to, let's just do the fucking song. Work out how it goes when it's
the youthful.
Are there new arrangements? I mean, you're obviously trying to be faithful to the album, but I'm sure with new instruments, there's new opportunities to.
We had this band Stick in the Wheel, who unfortunately won't be coming to the States. They were doing very distinct takes. They did Dark Streets of London from Red Roses and Gentleman Soldier from Rum Sodomy and The Lash. And they're another band that's really worth checking out. They're from London. They're a kind of ostensibly a folk band, but a lot of their stuff is pretty electronic. I don't really want to sort of describe them too much more than that because I don't want to give you the wrong idea, but I really, really, just as much as with Lisa O'Neill, I recommend you check them out. Stick in the Wheel. They're really, really good. So they kind of like did their own thing with those two songs. By and large, there aren't new arrangements. You get things like Nadine Shah sings in a very distinctive and very sort of like, she has her own voice and she doesn't sort of like, she doesn't sound like Shane. If you want to get an idea of that, I would suggest that you go on YouTube and you look at you search Pogues Hackney Friends. There's a full length video by a guy called Simon Sanders. Run it to, I think it's around 28 minutes where Nadine Shah sings the old triangle. And that'll give you an idea of, it's actually worth watching. Just watch her. She's absolutely fantastic. She's got an extraordinary voice. She came to London when she was about 16 or something to train as a jazz singer. She was friends with Amy Winehouse, and she's got this voice that's the size of, I don't really know.
She's got the voice like the siren that we're hearing.
She would drown that siren.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Nice.
It's a howl of feral thunder and starlight.
Oh, nice description. Bob Dylan recently he opened up his tour with Rainy Night in Soho.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
Yes.
The thing is with Bob, I mean, we did actually open for him. We did 2 shows opening for him in the 80s at I think the John Anson Ford Theatre and I believe the Greek Theatre. Both of which shows Shane somehow managed not to turn up for. Me to do the vocals, and honestly, I was in no kind of shape or state to I just didn't have the confidence to get up in front of that many people and actually sing a whole Pogues set. I just I kind of froze. But I think it was Bob's son, Jesse, was a big fan and turned Bob onto the Pogues. And so Bob actually has a track record of, we kind of know that Bob's a fan. But of course, it's beautiful to see him doing it, of course.
Yeah. Do you think Shane was intimidated to I can't be with Dylan?
I don't want to speculate on that, sure. But it is kind of interesting that the 2 Dylan shows were the start of a North American tour that we were doing, and that they were the only 2 shows where we were the openers, and then the next one I think was in Dallas where we were headlining, and lo and behold, Shane turns up in Dallas.
So, Dave, maybe you hit it.
I don't.
Maybe it's just a coincidence. Who knows?
Who knows?
You're going to play the album all the way through.
We're going to play the album all the way through. What we're actually doing is more the sort of expanded version as seen on Spotify. But it's because obviously if we were just going to do the album, that's not really enough to sort of...
Sure.
That's where I was going.
So we're doing...
You got to do the Poetry in Motion. You got to play a little of this.
We do Poetry in Motion as well.
Yeah, of course.
We do The Parting Glass, which I believe isn't on Rum Sodomy and The Lash, but was the B-side of Dirty Old Town. And we also do some songs off Red Roses for Me, sort of more sort of rabble.
Okay.
Rappers.
So you're keeping it to the...
We're keeping the first 2 and the EP for now. As time goes forward, I'm not going to give anything else away.
Okay. By the time you get to LA, I'll be settled.
Well, I think, things might have, we might have shifted some things around by then. Who knows? Well, one thing I will say is why does every anniversary always have to be celebrated when it's a sort of a decimal, when it's the 30th or the 40th? What's wrong with, say, for example, the 39?
We love round numbers.
There's something to be said for the odd numbers as well. Is 39 a prime number?
No, it's not. 13 times 3.
3 is 39.
Is 39.
Yeah,
so
right.
Nice try, Spider.
Yeah, okay. Well, we can't wait to 41.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, well, that's
That could be a Pogues thing now.
The prime number tour.
That was a really dumb question. Is 39 a prime number?
That's okay.
Well, I agreed with you.
We'll take it out. Yeah. Holly was, not. She's a part of the grammar police. She's not a mathematician.
Yeah,
Right,
that is
right.
true.
I'm neither.
I wanted to ask a question about Sally McLennan. Is that a drink? Is that a whiskey drink?
I didn't know this until actually really recently, but apparently it's a brand of stout. It's a type of stout.
Yeah.
Apparently an uncle of Shane's had a pub in Dagenham, which is kind of East London. It's on the eastern outskirts of London. So there's a big Ford motor factory there. And apparently in this pub, he sold a stout called Sally McLennan. But I've Googled it and I cannot find it. He kind of like reference to it anywhere. But Shane's sister sort of backed it up. So I guess, yeah. But she would have only been about 5 years old.
Yeah. Because I did read like on Wikipedia that it was a stout, and we
Sorry, yeah.
yeah. So right. So I like, because that's one of my favorite songs, and we did like this St. Patrick's Day episode, and we talked about Sally McLennan. So I went to Dublin, and I was like, okay, okay, I'm going to order a Sally McLennan, and they're like, what is that? We don't know what that is. Get the fuck out of here, man.
I have to sort of like, I do kind of question it, because it's not the sort, unless he actually brewed it on the premises, which is not the kind of thing that, that's the sort of thing that might have happened, I don't know, pre-war or something like that. But this would have been a pub on the outskirts of London, like in the 1960s. So when pubs tended to get all their stuff, there weren't many independent pubs left by that point. They were all, most of them have been taken over by big breweries. So they all kind of sold the same sort of stuff. And if it was stout, it would be like, it would be Guinness. Or there used to be this bottled stout called Mackerson, which I think was English, which they used to give to, old ladies used to drink Mackerson.
Okay.
Old ladies. I have a bottle of Mackerson, please.
And are you the one who does the background, who's screaming far away?
Yeah, that might be.
Far away. Is that you?
Yep.
How do you bring that intensity? Is that, I've always loved that.
I'm doing I'm going to be singing that lead. How
You are?
I just force it out.
I think that's when I fell in love with the Pogues. Just hearing that song and just the screaming of far away. I'm like,
so
yes.
Being on that stage, and I think, but judging by, the evidence of my own eyes and ears, being in the audience as well, it kind of has that effect on people, and it makes you want to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
If maybe it's not always necessarily appropriate. It is what it is. What?
It's a lot of lyric. How are you with the lyrics?
I'm pretty good actually with lyrics, yeah.
Are you? Okay.
Once I've got them, I tend to hang on to them. I mean, I'm really not actually doing that much singing. Most of the singing, as I say, we've got Lisa O'Neill, we've got Nadine Shah, we've got, Iona Zajac, who you wouldn't have heard of, but you should be aware of. She's another really, her surname is spelt Zajac. She's Scottish, but her paternal grandfather was Polish. And she's fantastic. She plays the harp, not the blues harp, but the actual Irish harp.
Yeah.
And a couple of other things besides. And she sings. And then we've got Lisa and Nadine. We've got John Francis Flynn, who is another one of the new breed of the new wave of Irish musicians. Is another one that you really, really ought to check out. Is singing on a couple. I'm doing, I think, maybe 4.
Are you doing Dirty Old Town, or which?
Lisa O'Neill will be doing Dirty Old Town.
Oh, interesting. Okay, see, I like that, like a female voice to something like that.
Yeah. And you just wait till you hear her singing it. It's fantastic, honestly. The singers that we've got, the musicians are all brilliant. They're all really, really good. The singers just kind of like lift it up. I'm not including myself in this, but when you got real crack hot singers, it's like,
Because we're talking female singers, when Shane and Kirsty MacColl did the Fairy Tale of New York, was it like when you realized, oh my God, a female, they works well together, adding a different element of like.
We knew that. We knew that anyway. I mean, Kurt had sang A Man You Don't Meet Every Day on Rum Sodomy and The Lash, which is being done by Iona. And Fairy Tale was actually written originally as a duet between Shane and Cott, but then she left. So, Fairy Tale is a funny song. It took about 2 years or something to work out for Shane to actually be sort of happy with the lyrics and the arrangement as well. Was like, it took quite a lot of time, and it kept getting shelved and then being dragged out again. And so we were doing If I Should Fall From Grace with God, and Steve Lillywhite was producing that, who was married to Kirsty MacColl. And we needed to hear it. He said, we need to hear this with the female vocal. So he took it home. He said, I'll take it home and I'll just I'll get Kirsty to sing along and see so I can hear what it sounds like. And I think all the time he intended that she was going to sing it. And I think Shane certainly was fully aware of that. And I think the rest of us were pretty aware of that. And he came back like the next day. He had a pretty decent studio set up as home as all that U2 money. And he came back and she had done the vocal and it was just like, okay, if you can find someone to sing it better, I'd like to hear them.
Yeah. Did you guys know instantly, like, oh, we have something here, or was like, okay, it's another track?
I knew that it was great, that it was a really good song, but you can't actually, that song in particular, we couldn't predict what was actually going to become of it. That's the song that people who know nothing about the Pogues know that song. In the UK, I mean, and probably in other parts of the world as well. It's the one that's really sort of, if we were like, the sort of TikTok bands or singers that have they have like one song, and so you go on their Spotify thing and they've got like 500,000 or 1 million listens on one song, and everything else is like, I don't want to be mean here, but it is what it is, and everything else is like about 4,500-5,000 tops. It's kind of a bit. It's funny actually, because Fairy Tale for a while wasn't the most like downloaded or streamed Pogue song. It was actually Love You Till the End, which was on an album that we did after Shane. Daryl, who sadly died, our second bass player, a song that he wrote that was used. What's that film? P.S. I Love You. So in addition to all the people who know Fairy Tale but know nothing about the band that recorded it, there are all these people who love that film because of the guy in P.S. I Love You, Gerard Butler. So like all these girls all around the world who love Gerard Butler and who love that song, but they don't.
Because that
the
makes
association
sense.
for
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah.
Hey, that helps. Get in a movie. Because Elvis Costello produced the album, I was wondering how that all came about, and will he have any fingerprints on this reunion at all?
No.
Okay.
Elvis won't be involved in this. I think actually Phil Chevron, before he was in the band, suggested to Elvis that he come and check us out. And I guess he came down, I think sort of somewhere like the Hope and Anchor, which is a pub in London where loads of bands played. And he liked what he saw, and he invited us to support him on I don't know what album he was touring. So we opened for him around the UK and in Ireland. And then he kind of like got together with Cot, but it was always like he wanted to produce us, and it kind of seemed to make sense. So he did Rum Sodomy and The Lash and Poetry in Motion as well, if I remember right. Yes, he did, because that's where the falling out was, when he wanted to put an oboe on Rainy Night in Soho, and Shane reacted like he had suggested that County Tipperary should be incinerated or something. I don't know. I think there is actually a version somewhere of Rainy Night with an oboe on it, but yeah. Anyway, just before we go, there's this woman called Rush. It's R-O with an accent I-S. I think she usually puts it in uppercase. She just won the Best Newcomer at the Irish Folk Music Awards. Check her out on Spotify. It's the least traditional thing you'll ever hear, and yet it is at the same time, the most deeply traditional Irish folk music you will ever hear in your life, because it's rooted in this singing tradition they have called Sean Nos. I think the best way to describe it is, you know what keening is, when you keen over someone's grave.
Okay. I've never heard that expression. What does that mean?
Keening is like, it's essentially a howl of despair for the departed, rather, but in a more kind of song-like form. But I'm not going to attempt to do it because I can't. Her kind of singing she's got a fantastic voice. It's kind of based on that, but it's like a lot of it is really electronic. She's fantastic. She's just fantastic. Check her out.
I love this passion of yours. Like you're seeking new music out. You're discovering new artists. I mean,
they just keep coming. They just keep coming. It's Ireland. It's not me.
Well, consequently, you're going to be playing well into your 90s.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right. No, you're never retiring, Spider, right?
Yeah.
I think I can at this point.
Oh.
I don't want to actually right now.
Right. Musicians don't never want to retire. Come on. You're never going to put down the whistle, right? All right. So you're coming to the West Coast is what I'm hearing.
Yes, as soon as we can. As soon as it's like, as soon as someone says, come.
I know Boston and New York are crazy audiences. We can beat that intensity.
I know the West Coast crowds.
You have our word. We'll make it worth your while.
I'm sure you will. Guys, I better go. Thank you very much.
Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it. All right, there you go. Spider Stacy of The Pogues.
I really feel like I could have talked to him for another hour or so. And I love all these recommendations that he's given us for artists that we need to hear. His support of these artists is just, I almost start to feel overwhelmed because he's so genuine. And I had heard that he's humble, so likable, but he really is. He's so genuine.
It was good to revisit Rum, Sodomy, and The Lash. I recommend you pull it up on Spotify. Give it a listen. Good stuff.
There's also a video clip of them performing The Parting Glass at Shane's funeral, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, I do remember watching that.
Yeah.
No, that's a very good suggestion. Who are we thanking, Holly?
Oh, we are thanking Erica Tooker of Erica Tooker PR. And of course, we thank Pantheon Podcast for their love and support all these years.
Please go to our website, sign up for the newsletter, wddimpodcast.com, which stands for What Difference Does It Make podcast.com. You can see all past episodes. We do have new episodes every Friday, so subscribe if you like. Please. Thank you. Until next week, this is Dave.
This is Holly.
Check you later.
Over and out.